is not in ac- accord with the Vedic literature. That literature names many demigods who are worshipped for different purpose. But in every case, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead Vishnu, is accepted as the supreme controller. That is real Vedic culture.
Okay, so here, Prabhupada, I think in the last class, Mataji had actually explained this philosophy, like how Shankaracharya's movement was actually to preach this favoralism for Vedic knowledge, right? So that, because previously Buddhists had actually preached that how this Vedic knowledge is not existing, how this Vedic knowledge is not actually proper. But then when Shankaracharya came, he made the things favorable so that this Vedic knowledge, people can actually refer to this Vedic knowledge. But again, it was not complete. It was not complete. So here Prabhupada is writing in the very first line that, strictly speaking, Mayavadi philosophy is atheism, for it is a process in which one imagines that there is God. So that means that they're imagining that God is existing, but actually they are not accepting that God exists. So this is what Shankaracharya had actually told. And then further down, Prabhupada is explaining that he is impersonal, and like how their philosophy is that like God is impersonal. I think in the previous classes also, how Mataji had explained that there are three levels of God realization. So one level is, to realize that the God is the impersonal Brahman, and the second is the Paramatma feature, and third is the Bhagavan feature. So we had enough discussed this, so I will not go further into that, but we will understand that how this Mayavadi philosophy, their knowledge, their understanding is only until this impersonal Brahman. They are not able, their knowledge is not yet, evolved so much to understand the Bhagavan feature or the personal feature of the Lord. So in that way, what they are doing, since they are not properly, they don't have this proper knowledge, so they start concocting the things according to their own way. So Ruchika, can you read the next paragraph also? Then I can explain. Yeah.
Yes. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness does not deny the existence of God and the demigod, but Mayavadi philosophy denies both. It maintains that neither the demigods nor God exist. For Mayavadis, ultimately all is zero. They say that one may imagine any authority, whether Vishnu, Durga, Lord Shiva, or the sun god, because these are the demigods generally worshipped in society. But the Mayavadi philosophy does not, in fact, accept the existence of any of them. The Mayavadi says that because one cannot concentrate one's mind on the impersonal Brahman, one may imagine any of this form. This is a new system called Pan.
Pancho, Panchopashana.
It was introduced by Shankaracharya, but the Bhagavad Gita does not teach any such doctrines and therefore they are not authoritative.
So you see here, like how they are defying their own philosophy, like they are not fully convinced about their own philosophy. So what they are telling, that they are thinking that, they are trying to imagine on some imaginary form. So they think that these demigods are not existing, this Vishnu, Durga, Lord Shiva, or any god, they are not existing. But just because they cannot concentrate on any impersonal form, so they think that, in these forms itself the Brahman is existing, or they try to meditate on these forms, thinking that they are the imaginary forms. So they are themselves, here itself it shows that how their philosophy is completely bogus, like how their philosophy is not proper. See, Prabhupada gives a very interesting, and logic to actually defy this impersonal philosophy. See, we all have forms. I have a form. My father has a form. Everyone, even every living entity, is having a form. So how come the God who has given all of us a form, he is not having a form? How come God is something less than us? If we say that God is formless, then how come he is having something less which we living entities are not having? So it is completely, you can understand, like this is completely a bogus, I mean to say completely a bewildering philosophy. And already I think in the previous class we had read this particular sentence in, I think, in wherein we were reading the verses for this Bhaja Govindam by Shankaracharya. That there Prabhupada is mentioning, and also we know that in Padma Purana, there Shiva himself, he is telling that I will preach this philosophy to this atheistic people. So all this philosophy was actually anyone who is actually an atheist will be attracted by this philosophy. No one, a sane man, an intelligent man, will never be attracted by this philosophy. At least they will try to use this intelligence, that how come if you see, if you compare the Mayavadi philosophy in short also tells that, I am God, everyone else is God. They have that philosophy also, that and finally they believe in this, that there's an impersonal Brahman, and all these living entities, they will go and they will merge in this impersonal Brahman. So this is their philosophy. So if you see their comparison, that even I am God and the other person is God, then how come I am dying and the God is, see, God just appears and disappears, he does not die. They are actually, they're offenders of God, because they think that God is also a similar living entity than they are, how they are. So that is completely, an offensive mentality that they have, and they can never actually, have this God realization, because they're offending. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he actually wants that someone who is actually listening to this Mayavadi philosophy, their their hope for actually going to the spiritual world is completely, completely gone, because they, by hearing this Mayavadi philosophy, one becomes totally contaminated, because they think themselves as God, but actually it's an offensive mentality. Can you read further?
The Bhagavad Gita accepts the existence of the demigod. The demigods are described in Vedas and one cannot deny their existence, but they are not to be understood or worshipped according to the way of Shankaracharya. The worship of demigod is rejected in the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita 7.0 clearly states.
Okay, so read the verse.
Mataji,
Kamais, okay, okay, I'll read. Kamas, Kamaste hृता ज्ञानः प्रपद्यन्ते अन्य देवतः tam tam niyamam ashatya prakrita niyatah swaya.
those whose mind are distorted by material desires surrender onto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulation of worship according to their own natures. Furthermore, in Bhagavad Gita 2.44, Lord Krishna states,
भोगेश्वर भोगेश्वर प्रसक्तानां तया पहरित चेतसं व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धि समाधौ न विधीयते.
in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. Those who are pursuing the various demigods have been described as Mataji,
Yes, yes, Hrita Jnana, which means those. Yeah, yeah, please read.
which means those who have lost their senses.
Yeah,
That is
you can
also
stop here. Yeah, you can stop here. Then we will go further. Yeah, so here we see that how Prabhupada has first defined the Buddha philosophy, and then he's defining the Mayavada philosophy, and then how he's coming to this demigod worship. So we all know that we first of all, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we even didn't knew that what is the difference between the demigod and Krishna himself. Like we thought that Krishna is one of the demigods, but by the Prabhupada's mercy, at least now we know that how Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead, and how he is different than of the demigods. Right? He is not in the category of the demigods. He is Swayam God. Like he is the supreme personality of the Godhead. So here, Prabhupada is telling about these two verses from Bhagavad Gita. So in the previous paragraph, we saw that how Shankaracharya is telling that Shankaracharya's philosophy is telling that these demigods are not existing. But anywhere in Bhagavad Gita, we do not see these things. Like where demigods are not existing. Bhagavad Gita instead says that demigods are existing, but then those demigods those demigods are not equal to the Lord. There is some difference between the demigods and that of the Krishna, right? That is what Bhagavad Gita is explaining. So here Prabhupada is right. Here in the Bhagavad Gita translation, we see that those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods. So who are the persons who actually worship the demigods? Those people who are after the material desires. Especially if you see in India, we see that so many people are after this demigod worship. Why? They go to the demigods actually with a list of the shopping, how we go to the shopping mall with a list, right? I want this, I want that, and all. So if you see in front of all these temples, we see such a big line because all are after this some material desires. They go to any demigod for the fulfillment of any material desire. Some go to the demigod for getting a nice son. Some go to the demigod for getting married. Some go to the demigod so that they can get the job. And I see there are many Ganesha temples. I'm just giving a practical example what's happening around my home. There was once I was going to a like my home, near to my home there is a Ganesh temple, and one day I saw there was one lady and there was one person who were just hitting those coconuts in front of the Ganesha temple. A big, I mean to say that a big bora, like we can say that a big sack of this coconuts were there, and they were one by one hitting. So there is such a fruitative thing, right? I give you something and in return I ask you something. So there is no exchange of any pure love in that, right? So everyone is after this material desires, after this sense gratification, and those who are after this material desires and sense gratification, they will not they worship this demigods to so that their wishes can be fulfilled. And then Prabhupada is writing that, okay, they are worshipping demigods. Then why they are not coming to you? Because they are so attached to the sense enjoyment and material opulence that they are so bewildered and they cannot do devotion, because the devotion is selfless. Devotion does not want anything in return. That is so that is why this devotion is only applicable to Krishna, because Krishna is the supreme, I mean, Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead. He is actually full in everything. He is full in happiness, like he is full in joy. He's the ocean of happiness. He's the ocean of the pleasure. He's ocean of the joy. Instead, we know that he has the six opulences, and how he is in complete in himself. So only one person who is complete in himself, he does not expect anything in return. Instead, he gives always. But then the demigods, they are not complete. I mean to say, they can give you some temporary thing, but then they cannot give you the eternal happiness that even Krishna can give. So this exchange of this love will not happen between the demigods and that of the living entities, because demigods also have some limited, they get their power from the supreme personality of the Godhead. So they do not have the complete storage, the storehouse from which they can give unlimited thing. The unlimited thing is only with Krishna. So only Krishna can give you unlimited things. But then this materialistic people, they do not understand this thing, because they think themselves as their body, and they are looking after that how can they fulfill their bodily needs, how can they gratify their senses. So they are looking after that thing. So they do not worship the supreme personality of the Godhead. So devotion is far out for from them actually. So that is what Prabhupada, like that is what the end of translation is telling, like that who are bewildered by such things, bewildered by the sense enjoyment and the material opulences. So their resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. Okay, so further, can you read the next paragraph? I will read out the Sanskrit words for you, and then you can read out this paragraph. अन्तावत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवति अल्पमेधसं देवान् देवयज्ञो यन्ति मद्भक्त यन्ति मम अपि.
Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planet of the demigods, but my devotees reach my supreme abode. The reward given by the demigods are temporary because any material facility must act in the connection with the temporary body. Whatever material facility one gets, whether by the modern scientific method or by delivering benediction from the demigod, will be finished with the body. But spiritual advancement will never be finished.
Yeah, so here it's a beautiful verse who is telling that men of the small integers worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. So I think I told you this point, right? That how they are worshipping the demigods to get their for their material needs to be fulfilled, for how their bodily needs can be fulfilled, because of which they are worshipping the demigods. But we know that this body is also temporary, and once this body is finished, with whatever the material opulences that I have with this body, even that will be finished. So everything is temporary, right? But then all these material facilities must, I mean to say, Prabhupada is writing here, the rewards given by the demigods are temporary, because any material facility must act in connection with the temporary body. So once this temporary body is finished, everything will be finished. So whatever you see, this materialistic people, they are doing so much of scientific advancement. We are actually trying to how much our bodily necessities can be increased. We are looking after that only. So you see that all these facilities that are being given to us, all these things are all these things are so temporary, and once our body is lost, everything will be lost. But people are after this demigod worship to actually get all those temporary things. One may go to the demigods and can ask for a car, right? And then some natural disaster happens and the car is gone, and then he's totally without any money. He's like, I when this I mean to say that for 3 4 years back, when there was a great natural disaster in Chennai, when it was the entire Chennai was flooded, what happened there? All the flood didn't see that you have a Mercedes or you have a, I have a normal, Maruti Suzuki car 800. It did not see all those cars, everything, even many offices, these were all destroyed, right? And you became totally powerless, like all these materialistic facilities which you have, that is no more there, right? So we see that this demigod, by doing the demigod worship, you can get only temporary benefits, but the eternal benefit is not there. But in contrary, here it is written that Prabhupada writes in the last line of this paragraph, but spiritual advancement will never be finished. So there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita which tells like neha vikrama nasho asti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. That means like you do a little amount of spiritual activity and it is not lost. Once you leave the body, it is not lost. It's an internal bank account actually. So many of you who are so much interested in devotional service, right? All of you, I see many of them are regularly joining this classes so that you can advance in spiritual knowledge, you can understand the spiritual knowledge. So if you see, you compare yourself with your friends or some other people who are not having that much interest in this devotional activities. They even may not prefer to even listen to anything devotional. They are completely like this of this either in the, they fall either in the atheistic category. They do not exist in the god, or they fall in the this demigod worshippers, I mean to say that that category who go to the god for some material benefits, right? But then all of you are coming for some higher cause, higher purpose. So that verse tells like how you all have some sukriti, like have some agyat sukriti. That means you have got some, you have done some devotion or engaged in some devotional service in your previous births also, and that's how even in this birth also you are continuing it. So that is the, that is the glory of doing devotional service. That is the glory of becoming to Krishna consciousness, and that whatever you do, it is an eternal, it is eternally there. It's an eternal, it's there in your eternal bank account, and it always increases. It is not that it will be decreased. How, if you do a demigod worship or you do some yajna, you are engaged in some karmic activity, you might be elevated to this higher planetary systems, like how Krishna tells that those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods. So if you are worshipping demigod, you will go to the demigods planet, like you will go to the Swarga Loka. But do you know that in Swarga Loka, how it is counted? Like if you are drinking one time, like the Som Rasa. So you might be knowing, right? In this Swarga Loka planets, there is this Som Rasa, and then Som Rasa means that's a nectar, and then there are some apsaras, some queens who are dancing and all those. So all those, whatever you do, some enjoyment in that Swargaloka, it's countable. It's counted by the punyas that you have earned in this material world. For example, if you are drinking Somrasa, 10 of your punyas will be deducted. And then after that, if you are dancing with this apsaras, again some 50 of your punyas will be deducted. So similarly, once you go there, you can go there, but then once your this this bag of this punyas are being deducted, that like all, if you are exhausted, you fall down again to this material world. So you see, all these things are so temporary. It is not something which is permanent. But then Krishna tells, like, if you come to then, but my devotees, they reach to my supreme abode. That means if you are a Krishna bhakta, you go to the Golok Vrindavan, where you remain eternally, because Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that once you come to me, you never return to this material world, which is a place of the miseries. So once you go there, you never return. But then if you go to the demigods, you worship demigods and you go to their planets, but then everything is counted by this punyas, and again you come to this material world, and again you are subjected to all these miseries, these threefold miseries of Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, and Adhyatmika, and also this birth, death, old age, and disease. You are again encountered. So, an intelligent person, he does not look after, this worshipping the demigods. Instead, he is looking after that how can I go to the eternal place where every step is a dance and every word is a song. They are trying to come out of this from this miseries eternally. They do not want to again get entangled in this miseries. Okay, so next paragraph, can you read?
People should not think that we are preaching a sectarian religion. No, we are simply preaching how to love God. There are many theories about the existence of God. The atheist, for example, will never believe in God. Atheistic, like Professor Jacques Monod, who won the Nobel Prize, declare that everything is chance, a theory already put forward long ago by atheistic philosophers of India such as Charvaka. Then other philosophies such as the Karma Mimamsa philosophy accept that if one goes on doing his work nicely and honestly, automatically the result will come without need for one to refer to God. For evidence, the proponents of such theories cites the argument that if one is diseased with an infection and take medicine to counteract it, the disease will be neutralized. But our argument in this connection is that even if one gives a man the best medicine, he still may die. The results are not always predictable. Therefore, there is a higher authority, Daivya Nitrena, a supreme director. Otherwise, how is it that the son of a rich and the pious man becomes a hippie in the street, or that a man who works very hard and becomes rich is told by his doctor, now you may not eat any food, but only bravely water,
Barley water.
barley
Yeah,
water.
yeah. So here Prabhupada is telling, it's a very very interesting, this paragraph. So first thing is that Prabhupada starts with this argument that people should not think that we are preaching a sectarian knowledge. No. Why we are not preaching a sectarian knowledge? Now you see what your body is, like how our body is. Like for example, you know how my body is. If I, for example, I was born in a Hindu religion, so my body and that of the Christian's body and that of the Muslim's body, is it different? No, it is not different. It is the same. I mean to say that the body is going through the same changes. It is also going through this birth, death, old age, and disease, and everything. Whatever there, for example, this coronavirus, it is coming. Is it actually seeing that, whether I am in the, I am in the body of an Hindu, or I am in the body of a Muslim, or I am in the body of a Christian? No, it is not saying, it is not seeing any caste or anything creed. So it is not sectarian. Instead, it is a very scientific knowledge which is has to be applied to each and everyone, because this knowledge is on the basis of the soul. It is not on the basis of the body, that you can start giving your own philosophy based on your sectarian knowledge. No, it is not like that. It is a common, these things, whatever we are studying here in this Krishna consciousness or in the scriptures, in this Vedic literature, whatever we are studying, it is not sectarian. Instead it can be applied to the all sectors, to all living beings. It does not have to be divided. Okay, so for this particular people only it is applied, and other people it is not applied. It is not like that. So here Prabhupada is writing that how this atheistic philosophy is there, they are saying that everything comes by chance. Right? We also know that how this scientist, here actually Prabhupada is even quoting the professor Jacques Monod, that who won the Nobel Prize for actually saying that everything comes by chance. We know this Big Bang theory, right? So what is this Big Bang theory? This Big Bang theory is something like there are two actually there are two, in the starting of the creation there was nothing existing, and there was suddenly there was some bombardment, and from there the creation arises. Right? That is what the Nobel Prize owners or this scientist they tell like that. But we know that when we are, example is like, you have this Diwali, you have this crackers, so you are actually lighting some bomb. And if, for example, you're lighting a bomb in a castle, in a castle made out of, like this, or maybe some paper or maybe some sand, or so whatever, you might be putting the lighting the bomb inside some castle, some killa, right? And what happens when the bomb is bursting? Is it something like, it is the same killa is there? No, the same castle is not there. When the bomb is being bombarded, everything is destroyed. So how come that everything, if this Big Bang theory, what they tell is their so-called theory, they tell like, something collided and from there creation happens? No, actually it is not the truth. It is all their mental concoction. Especially when something, actually when two things collide, some huge sound happens or there is some accident, there is a destruction. There is never something, you can say, some invention or something good has happened from that particular accident. But then this atheistic philosophy, they tell like everything comes by chance. Instead, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th chapter, how Krishna is actually, if you read that particular chapter, you will come to know that how Krishna is clearly saying that this is an atheistic mentality. In Krishna in 16.8, he says that they say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say that it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. So this is an atheistic mentality, to actually underestimate the power of the God, and to think that I am doing everything and everything came by chance, and anything which has happened, which is happening around, is by my own, I mean to say that my own endeavor. So this is something, atheistic mentality, and Prabhupada further defies that this mentality. So now people are telling that I can actually cure any disease by giving you some medicines, but here Prabhupada defies that. But our argument in this connection is that even if one gives a man the best medicine, he still may die. For example, this present context, if you see, there is no such vaccine or no such medicine. Although many people are telling, all those countries, they are telling that we have invented the vaccine, we have done this, we have done that. But then are they able to control the spread of this virus? No. So one may argue that, I have the best medicine, but then one cannot check that that person will die or not die. Instead, it is in the hands of the authority, that is, it is the hands of the Deva Netrena, that's the supreme director. In Bhagavad Gita in 3.27, to defy this argument again, like, Krishna tells that, that gune prakriti kriyamanani gune karvani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So this karmi people, they think that whatever is happening, it is happening by my own. They think that, by their false ego, they think that I am the controller of this world. I can do whatever I want and I can actually live eternally. But then that is not the fact. If that was the fact, then how come the son of a rich man, the Prabhupada is giving an interesting fact over that, that if that is the fact, then how come a son of a rich man is becoming a hippie? Like, he is giving an example, like how Americans, they were so rich, but then they left everything and they were on the streets, and they were drinking this alcohol and smoking cigarettes, and they were living a life how a poor fellow lives. And also how a rich how and how he has to, even he has going through this diseased condition, even he has to drink this barley water, though there might be so many delicious food that might be available, but he has to eat this barley water. Then what is the like, what is the use of he being the rich if he is not able to enjoy this material opulences, right? So we are under the authority, we are under the supreme director, we are under the actually we are under the clutches of this prakriti again is controlled by the supreme personality of the godhead, right? So with this I will conclude here, and we will meet, I think, for next class Mataji will be taking. So with this I will end. So thank you so much for hearing to me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mataji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.